sink or swim. But for one
For
individual...
classy rock and rollers, lyrics are right up there in terms of importance with music, which, let's not forget, is almost as crucial as image. Even for your Neanderthal, thump, thrash, grunge, 500 decibel blood bursting out of the eardrums type rock and rollers, lyrics have their place. After all, they give the lead singer something to do with their mouths, other than just having them hanging open on stage or being sick through them, for instance.
If you're talking lyrics, you're talking good rock and roll, you're talking Donna by 10cc. Fantastic, just listen.
Oh, Donna,
That's deep.
you make me stand up.
Yeah.
You make me sit down, Donna. Sit down, Donna. Sit down. You make me stand up.
Wow. Wow. And how about the Beatles, Chris? I mean, who could forget the Beatles? I've been trying to for years. This is, I think, one of their great classics. No one, I think, is in my tree. I mean, it must be high or low. That is, you know, you can't tune in, but it's all right. That is, I think it's not too bad.
The late great John Lennon, magnificent.
They don't write songs like that.
I think Bob Marley said it a lot better for me when he said this, and I think it was, I took it very personally.
You would.
Well, I think it lost a little bit in translation, but natty dread now. See what I mean?
Yeah.
A dreadlock Congo bongo.
Wow.
A natty dreadlock in a Babylon. You know. Roots natty, roots natty.
Roots natty.
Well, look enough of the old stuff. I mean, we in Australia have got Doc
Real
Neeson.
talent.
Doc Neeson, I think he's up there with Cole Porter.
And if he's not now, he soon will be.
Remember this one?
Now, how could I forget?
Psychopath,
Young man,
dedicated to efficiency.
17,
28,
59. Looks like it's coming down on me, everybody, down on me. You're so beautiful, down on me.
And just recently we had this. Now I have to read this. Tanita Tikaram. Even the name says something to me.
Good
And
gracious.
you'll recognize it.
I will.
Look, my eyes are just holograms. Look, your love has drawn red from my hands.
Who wrote this shit?
From my hands, you know you'll never be more than twist in my sobriety.
No.
More than a twist in my sobriety. Says it all, doesn't it, Andrew? Andrew! Iggy. Iggy. It's 9 o'clock on a Saturday.
One of the great things about rock and roll is the romance of being on the road. And there's no more romantic part of being on the road than the roadies.
Yeah, well, I think the most influential band I would have worked for would have to be the Stones.
Oh, astonishing influence.
They had a tremendous respect for gaffer tape, you know, all its various applications.
And they weren't stingy with it. Between 200 and 300 rolls a concert.
Yeah.
Well, that was normal for the Stones.
But it was the music, obviously, that got you in the first place.
Yes.
Yeah, well, I mean, there is a certain place for music in the rock industry, but really it's the tape, it's the gaffer tape that binds us
Absolutely.
all.
I mean, wouldn't you agree, Ashton, that I think that a really good roadie can make gaffer tape sing in his hands?
Absolutely, it's an opera of polystyrene and stickiness. It's beautiful.
Well, has any one group influenced you?
Well, the Beatles, I think they pioneered the use of gaffer tape.
Well, not in the strictest sense. I mean, it goes all the way back to Charles Darwin on the Beagle, but really the Beatles were the ones to experiment and really show the world what great gaffering could do.
And they weren't afraid to throw out a fake. If they didn't like it, whoosh,
Whoosh,
out
it went straight away.
Geniuses.
Absolutely. Bloody geniuses.
Of course, Not all bands can afford roadies, so to start with, you'll probably have to make those embarrassing grunting noises into microphones all by yourself. Once you do get them, don't expect roadies to work for love either. Lust maybe, but never love. Fact is, roadies don't come cheap. They just dress that way.
Right again, Andrew. Roadies' wages range from $50 a night and all the ginger beer you can drink through to $1,000 a week, plus fifth pick of the groupies for major tours. But don't get carried away. Before you get roadies, you have to line up a gig. Not easy with the diminishing Australian pub circuit. In fact, after paying for transport, publicity, PA and drinks all round, you'll owe the pub money. But at least you're supporting the Australian music industry. And when you're ready to record, you'll pay even more. $12 an hour for a flea-infested rehearsal room. Slightly less if you bring your own fleas. From $250 to over $2,000 for a demo tape, no matter how awful the music is. While full recording studios cost hundreds of dollars an hour, and that's before the naughty stimulants.
Thanks, Captain. Of course, once your career's reached this point, you've almost certainly attracted a manager, a record company, perhaps a booking agent and a publicist, and maybe even some people who like your music as well. You're starting to be successful, and you can tell that because they're all doing okay, while you don't even know where your next leather jacket's coming from. This is the time where things can really begin to get ugly, even compared to banking. We've got some rock and roll survivors vibing along inside, people who've seen the business end of the industry and lived to tell the story. So come on in, let's chat.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome live on stage for the first time in Oz, direct from their previous engagement, Jeremy Bobini, John Stevens, Andrew Denton and Chris Bailey, better known as Let's Chat!
Thanks very much. Thanks for coming to the gig. It's great to have you here. Our first big interviewer on tour. Whoa! I'd like to introduce the other members of the interview. On the far left, based responses from the States, Mr. Chris Bailey. And in the middle, in the suit, he may be unfashionable, but he's here from Mental Management, Mr. Jeremy Bobini. And ladies and gentlemen, the jism value in the band, the spunk from Noiseworks, John Stevens! Okay. Now, I must ask you to keep back from the stage or I won't be asking any more questions, all right? Just get right back. Okay, I'd like to start now with the golden oldie, a question you've heard on many chat shows before. Stereotypes and Jeremy management. Why are all managers assholes?
Well, you can ask the same question about lawyers, accountants, record company people, television personalities, and all sorts of people. There are lots of assholes in management, as there are in all walks of life. They're perhaps more publicised in the management area. There's lots of famous cases.
For instance?
I'm glad you asked me that.
I'm glad I did
just
too.
thinking about the Alan Klein case with the Beatles, a famous story that some say the Beatles were broken up by Alan Klein's machinations behind the scenes. In fact, there was a story that when he came out to Australia and he fell in Sydney Harbour, that the Sharks didn't attack him out of professional courtesy.
Oh, how nice.
Well,
Jeremy Bobini, ladies and
Jeremy, actually, really good question. What does a manager do?
well, presumably the manager's there to manage the band, to look after the business interests, perhaps to be involved in the creative direction of the band.
Interesting answer.
Well,
I'm trying to be serious here. This is the first time tonight that anybody's actually dealt with the question that actually rock and roll is something that a lot of people enjoy. A lot of people may not take it seriously, maybe it's not meant to be taken seriously, but it's not completely disposable trash, as may have been inferred earlier on tonight, so I'd just like to make one serious.
I agree with that.
Whoa!
Jeremy management.
Chris and John, John in particular, let's get down to those dark early days when you're first starting out in rock and roll.
I've been dark all my life. I was born that way.
There's only one thing I hate more than racist jokes, and that's people making them about themselves. I mean, that's low. You can't even reply.
I can't, no.
The early days, John, how was it? Hard, tough, working conditions, dreadful?
Sure, mate. Sure, it was hard, you know, starving away there like all good musicians, you know. The
Really
cliche.
starving?
Sure. You know?
You couldn't even eat Iggy's meat, as it were?
Not with him in it.
No, definitely not with him in it.
If you're worried about going into rock and roll, ladies and gentlemen, don't panic. There are no guarantees. Art has no guarantee. Just friggin' well do it. If you want to do it, you'll rise above all the crap that has been exposed. So swap.
Absolutely.
And have a good time, and we'll have a good time. If you like the work, it's a great life. If you don't like the work, you shouldn't be in it. Become a pop star.
Okay.
Rock and roll.
Absolutely.
I'd like you to put your hands together for our fabulous interview guests here tonight. Jeremy Fabini, John Stevens and Chris Bailey. We'll see you later. I'm going to you, RSL. Let's go, boys. Yeah. It's not likely you'll ever play a concert of this size unless you make a rock clip. And while a rock clip can turn a desperately dull prat into the very image of the Messiah himself, be warned, costs can prove daunting.
Make that very daunting, Andrew. Legs by ZZ Top. $1,000 was spent fumigating for beard lice. Like a Prayer by Madonna. $15 million spent dyeing each hair black individually. Simply Irresistible by Robert Palmer, $4 million on sex changes so Robert's football buddies could all be in the clip. Coming Up by Paul McCartney, $3 million spent looking for McCartney lookalikes. A further $4 million spent not looking for Linda lookalikes. Beds Are Burning by Midnight Oil, $6.50 spent on dancing lessons and a further $5 on head polishing. Ring My Bell by Colette, $2.40 on bus fare to the local park, $1.68 on singing lessons, $11.90 on sunglasses for the crew. Jason Donovan, $3 million spent on search and rescue when Jason took a wrong turn while no one was paying attention. Love Is a Battlefield by Pat Benatar, $18 million spent recreating the Battle of Hastings, cut because of a continuity error. And while making Get Back, the Beatles spent $15,000 removing pigeon shit from their equipment.